recently they came out with a new video game based on Mighty Morphin
Yeah.
in anticipation. Because I am noticing like it's all coming back because of this new movie quite a bit. Like we go to a con and there's a lot more like Power Ranger stuff. And it feels like I feel like for years I felt a little bit alone in being a Power Rangers fan. Like as an adult, because anybody a little bit older than us was like, oh, I was too old for that. I didn't know it. But then it turns out like a lot of people were closeted Power Rangers fans. But they came out with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Mega Battle for Xbox One and PlayStation 4. And I played through all of it recently, and it's no fun.
No fun?
It's just another beat-em-up game. Yeah. It's another, like, smash the X button. It takes so long before you finally get to a Zord battle, and then the Zord battle is like 10 seconds long, which is a lot like the movie, this new movie. But, like, you actually were in the cockpit of Megazord battle mode. And we all know Megazord battle mode from the show was kind of BS. They always just went straight into regular Megazord. But this is from the cockpit of that, and you kind of shoot down the monster. I thought that was cool. Go, go, Power Rangers! And that's when you start to feel like a Power Ranger. You start to really enjoy it. And then it's just like it's like a Sega CD game. Like when you are actually in regular Megazord, they're just like press BY BBY, and then he like strikes, and that's it. They're like quick time events.
I will say of the new movie and the old movie that I appreciated that the old movie wasn't an origin story. Now I know part of that is the timing. It came out when the show was still big. They were like, you all know what Power Rangers is. You're watching it every week. Here you go. Here's just like a big episode. But the origin story thing, I can't do it anymore. I can't do it with anything.
Yeah, I don't think there's an origin story alive that's interesting, except for maybe like Doctor Strange kind of interesting?
Doctor Strange was kind of interesting because I think it was just so different. Like the mysticism is not something we've seen a lot of, but I mean,
yeah,
I think Spider-Man just really killed it for me early on.
There's something
and now, and you know, Guardians of the Galaxy was good. Again, if it's different enough and it's characters that we really don't know.
Guardians of the Galaxy decided not to introduce you to a lot of that world.
Right, well, and it's not truly an origin story. I mean, this is a guy who's already calling himself Star-Lord and running around, so it's not entirely an origin story.
You're being introduced to new characters, new situations, but you're not.
True.
You're not like, I was just a normal teen when.
Yeah, I can't do that. I can't do the origins. I'm so sick of it.
So
I just don't want to see one ever.
What do I think is the appeal of Power Rangers? I think that there's basically, like, because you could say, well, it was just a phenomenon of its time. It won't...
more phenomenon of its time?
It was more phenomenal. You know, maybe it won't stand up today. And we're finding, like, Ninja Turtles, like, kids today love Ninja Turtles still. So some of these things have staying power, and that's probably why they're like, well, let's reboot it and see if we can get, like, you know, it's still a big brand. But
no one has to think it up. We don't got to pay anyone new for coming up with it.
But I think that the core things are bright, colorful costumes, metal music, cool Japanese rubber suit monsters, and TGIF-style American kids dealing with problems, teenage problems. But you'd agree that, like, the metal music added a whole different dimension to it?
It was the only thing like it. The metal music for kids, I mean, you never put metal music in a kid's anything.
Well, like, but if you watch a Jew Ranger, the music is just kind of like your standard fare.
Yes.
And it doesn't, there's not...
If anything, it's too upbeat and flowery and...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we should mention that end credit sequence, though.
Oh, it's bonkers.
I mean, we all know this about, like, you know, most, like, anime theme songs and end credits, like, have nothing to do with the show. But, we find it a delight every time it comes on. Just these bizarre sequences of the Rangers running around, like, playing baseball. There's a dog in a suit. Yeah. There's like the Black Ranger's riding a bike and falls.
Yeah. May is dressed in, like, a wedding gown, and they all chase her around. She's carrying flowers.
Yeah. And the song is called, like, Jumbo. Jumbo, 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 Jumbo. Jumbo, Jumbo, Jumbo,
Jumbo. They talk about, like, the world being like a little blue dot and...
Paparia.
Paparuyo.
What do I wake up to every single morning?
Oh my god, you trained me to hate the Bulk and Skull theme from
The Bulk and Skull theme has been my alarm clock for years.
And you have like 4 different alarms. Like you wake up in stages. Right. So it's da-na-na-na-da-na-na, da-na-na-na-da-na-na. every like 15 to 20 minutes for an hour straight.
And I do think like Bulk and Skull, the bullies on Power Rangers, another big like sort of thread through the whole thing. And in Cybertron, they tried to kind of like do that in the pilot anyway, which didn't make it to VR Troopers, but they had bullies, and one of them was Jamie Kennedy.
He like shut you down. Did not. Did two. Did not. Did two. Did not. Did two. Did not.
Well, there was even a culling of the bullies in Power Rangers. There used to be like 4, and then their numbers got cut down to 2. Bulk and Skull really...
Yeah, and not even in just the unaired American pilot for Power Rangers, which had a different skull.
Hey, you're gonna pay for this.
But also, in the early episodes, there were like 4... bullies, and like only 2 of them were Bulk and Skull.
There's like a lady bully.
But I gotta say, like those actors, Jason Narvi and Paul
Greengrass,
Shriver or something, Farkas Bulkmeyer and Eugene Skelovich. Those guys I think they're like genuine talents, and we see them at cons and stuff too.
But they actually got bullied like by the Power Rangers.
That's the thing, is like these
the Power Rangers were good looking, cool kids,
like who
knew like martial arts and were popular, and
like with the exception of Billy and maybe one of the girls, like how can you really bully these guys? I mean, especially when Jason, Tommy, and Zach were around.
Yeah,
like they're Zach's gonna do the hip hop keto, and that's gonna be that.
Yeah.
We met Amy Jo Johnson briefly, and we also were at a film festival once with one of our movies where she had her film. She didn't come out and see it. Yeah. I did mention it to her when I met her at the con.
We're basically colleagues with Amy Jo Johnson.
That's right. We're on the same lev. Bent. Yep. And it is starring Amy Jo Johnson, who you might remember as Kimberly the Pink Power Ranger.
Also written and directed by, I believe.
No. A film about lifelong friendship by Amy Jo Johnson. Are we broken? They ask themselves. Only decide after a topless escapade through their old set. We're going! There was that Power Rangers bootleg thing that came out a couple of years ago that I thought was super funny. I'm talking about the one with...
the Dawson's Creek one.
A very rated R Power Rangers sequel or follow-up where like we were kids in a war. There's so many Easter eggs to the show, like Hip Hop Keto and... The fact that James Van Der Beek played the second Red Ranger, but not the first one, and like Bulk and Skull led like the
James Van Der Beek had like a crushed leg injury and had like a fake leg.
It's genius. I'm not gonna be one of these people who says I wish that was the feature film.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'd prefer that to what I got.
Well, now that you've seen the feature film, you can say that. I guess.
Like to some degree, you want some bad in your Power Rangers adaptation. Did any of the actors kind of like have the original cast have interesting lives after Power Rangers? Like she was in Felicity, that show Felicity.
On a clear blue day, does the sun get in your eyes?
She was also in Prefontaine's Without Limits.
She played a gymnast.
Right, and she shows a little butt because she's having like gymnast sex with him, the runner.
It's awkward.
It's very strange. I don't know why it's in the movie.
I got a better idea.
Okay, come on, get over here. Show me what you got.
And Jason David Frank just sort of became a Power Ranger for life. An MMA fighter, though.
You know him as Tommy from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Here is Jason Frank.
And like he owns like a weird Christian brand of clothing.
Jesus Didn't Tap.
Called Jesus Didn't Tap.
It's my plug. We're not sponsored. We have no affiliation.
Austin St. John, the original Red Ranger, became like a like a Marine medic or something.
I ended up overseas as a medic attached to military operations.
The poor Yellow Ranger died in a car accident like not too long after, like in like 2000 or something.
Yeah.
Like she died a long time ago. That brings us to present day, I'd say. I've been excited for this movie. Like I felt for a little while like the only person excited for a Power Rangers remake. And then everybody started kind of coming on board. Like the first half hour or so, I thought was pretty good character development. I still don't really know the difference between Kimberly and Trini in this movie.
Kimberly
sexted a photo?
Was a cheerleader. Yeah, something about social media. And Trini...
Like, what is going on in my Power Rangers?
It's like a mystery... secret life that her parents
she might be a lesbian is what they hint at, and then otherwise she's like, I'm annoyed by how secure and normal my life is, which is very teenager.
They all kind of had the same problem, with the exception of two of the Rangers. Their main problem was my parents don't understand me. They think I'm something I'm not, and therefore I'm angsty and get into trouble for no reason when I should otherwise be a good kid. Because they still wanted all the Power Rangers to be good people. Like, no one's a jerk.
But we're also big Dawson's Creek fans, and it did have a little bit of a much more of a Dawson's Creek feel to it. Like,
quick expository.
Yeah, even some of the dialogue, like, I suppose you're the normal.
Overly verbose writing.
Billy was, like, one of the most interesting characters in it. Like, they kind of gave Billy a lot to do.
They tried to be very inclusive. They put Billy on the spectrum and said so.
That was interesting. I mean, you know,
I think you can't just have a nerd anymore. I think being a nerd is now considered, like, cool
or ubiquitous, or it's like, well, what does that mean exactly? Although, you know,
so it was like, how do you have a smart kid who doesn't necessarily have a lot of friends?
Billy was always kind of like a science geek, though, you know.
Yeah.
But he was also inventing technology that would be invented by, like, Apple later.
Yeah.
Like a wristwatch or, So what does he do in this movie? So they gave him a lot to do in the way of, like, he's curious and he's vulnerable, and he has a good heart and all that kind of stuff. So I thought that worked. Zach, like, they gave Zach basically the Dean Ambrose character motivation. Like, I'm crazy. And that's it. Like, I'm a fringe lunatic, and that was kind of it. This is like an intermediary stage of Megazord, where he's just got little legs.
He's got a tail. He was trying to, like, keep people away because he was afraid of being alone, because his mom was sick.
Oh, right. Yeah, he's guarded.
This is where I agree with you. The half an hour is good character development stuff for anyone who says that there's not a lot of character development on the actual Power Rangers show, that they were kind of shallow and thin. Then it goes, like, off the cliff to where you didn't give me any more development. You just kept saying the same thing over and over again. I'm troubled. I don't know if I want to hang out with you, because I don't know if you'll really be my friend. I'm afraid of being alone. I don't know if I want to commit to this.
Exactly.
The same thing. I'm like, okay, that's not really further development. That's just rehashing stuff.
I like Alpha. I think Bill Hader's really funny in this.
Now, listen, you're a right geezer, yeah? You're a Power Ranger, that right? Now, like, give him a toothpick or something, but they didn't like that.
I liked kind of, like, formalizing, like, all right, like, Rita used to be a Ranger. She has the green power coin for that reason. Bryan Cranston, I mean, is Bryan Cranston bad in anything?
No.
I mean, I thought he was an excellent Zordon. I even kind of liked that the Red Ranger was at odds with Zordon. I thought that was interesting, because we never saw the Power Rangers resent Zordon. I don't think ever. I don't think that happened, like, in all 8,000 episodes. I don't think they ever were like, screw you, Zordon.
But they should have. They should have been like, screw you, Zordon, had you just sacrificed yourself. Season 1, Episode 1.
Yeah, because we find out in space
all the evil in the universe.
We find out in Power Rangers in Space that all you gotta do is destroy his tube, and, like, everything goes away.
Even though they destroyed the tube in the movie. And
Mastodon! The second act of this thing, which is what I'm hearing a lot of other people say too, it drolls on. And one of the biggest problems is...
If you have to have a nap time in your movies, schedule it for...
Holy crap.
An hour in.
They decided that the third act break was going to be, we finally learn how to morph.
Right.
So you're watching the Power Rangers learn how to morph for a really long time.
You're watching them punch rocks for a really long time.
You get the impression pretty early on that because they gain superpowers from the coins, that nothing really hurts them or something.
Yeah.
And so it's not interesting to watch them get, like, sort of thrown around, which is a problem with a lot of superhero movies.
It's also for something that's bonkers, right? For something that's off the wall, everything that we've talked about, clearly we're going into a movie that's going to be off the wall and unrealistic. Why they have to physically walk to a quarry, jump off.
Yeah, there's no teleportation in this.
Go through some water to, like, get to the command center that, as you pointed out, they never call the command center. I'm like, this is the most inefficient. And we know it's like an hour-long drive outside of Angel Grove. They set that up in the beginning when Jason and Billy drive there.
As a Power Rangers fan, I thought that, like, having the Zeo crystals be, like, a really important part was interesting, because it sort of hints at stuff later, I guess. Like, we'll probably see these Rangers become Zeo Rangers.
And the fact that the crystal is located in Angel Grove makes it a target for Rita, and why all this shit's going to go down in Angel Grove.
So that's kind of interesting, I guess. How much footage in this movie do you suppose is of Rangers with masks on? Like, in full costume?
7.5 minutes.
For that long, huh? I mean, I'd be surprised if it was 3. Like, cumulative minutes of that.
Well, I guess I'm also thinking of them, like, in their cockpits with their masks off.
They have the masks off.
Technically.
So I'm like, they're not even... Why even have masks? What's going on? It's like in the Spider-Man 3, when he spends like most of the time without the Spider-Man
Is
mask
that the one
on.
where he spends most of the time like mugging in like a black shirt?
Yep, that's when he does his dance stuff.
Oh, yeah,
By
it
the
was
way,
like
this is a
jazzing
saber-tooth
it.
tiger, by the way.
This is Finster or Puri Puri
Or a Pleprecon,
or Pleprecon. Weird.
which I learned I played the Zhu Ranger NES game,
Yeah.
and they called him Pleprecon.
He was not in the new movie.
Right. She, in
Why, that
fact,
we were not in the new movie?
other than putties, which they barely resemble putties. They don't go.
No, she's not surrounded by yes men in the new movie.
So I sound now like I need it to be exactly the way. No, I like some of the story cleanup and some of the the adaptation, but the thing is, you can't make something unrecognizably what you're adapting.
Right.
You know, you can't like separate it out. So where
It's like you want to use the name, but you don't want to use the actual material.
Right. So where I start to get supremely disappointed is when is really the third act. So they morph, they kick and punch a couple of putties. It is real quick. She forms a giant Goldar. I'm saying like a Goldar because he doesn't have a character because he's just a massive.
Yeah, he doesn't talk or anything.
And he just punches around the city. He doesn't quip.
The thing this movie does have is more individual Zord fighting. They fight individually
bit.
in their Zords, but for that reason, we got kind of shafted on the
Zhu Ranger has a lot of it, too.
Megazord footage.
Goldar pushes them into a pit, and they all think they die.
They're in the pit like with the crystal.
And there's a lot of talk of like killing and death, and I'm gonna kill that bitch, and you're my bitch, and
Trini takes it really kind of
Let's go kill her.
lightly when she thinks that Zordon is asking them as teenagers. She doesn't know about morphing yet. She knows that they've become more powerful and they've become stronger. And she's like, oh, you want us to go kill this Rita woman? And she's pretty chill about it.
yeah, go kill her. But anyway, so he pushes them in the pit, and then essentially off camera,
Yeah.
Megazord stands up. And that to me was a serious
Faux pas.
miscalculation.
Yeah.
Which is like, what the hell do you think I'm here for?
Especially for a movie where the main theme was teamwork and coming together and working
Right.
together. Like, wouldn't
Excellent
that just
point.
be the visual that you would put with that?
Yeah, like why not use that as a metaphor for like being a team and all that? And the Megazord himself doesn't look very interesting. He doesn't look like, you can't like clearly see that like that's the Triceratops' a leg.
And then they're all in different cockpits, because I guess they were trying to make it more realistic of like, it would be this piece of this Zord and this piece of
Yeah, I
this
didn't
Zord.
care for that.
But, yeah, again, if they're going to be working together...
You gotta understand, like, I was real pumped for this movie, like, and it's just that it kind of kept letting me down over and over again. Was maybe it's gonna, And one of the biggest moments was like they actually decided to use the theme, and it was
pretty much exactly when we thought they were going to.
it was like, maybe when the Zords come out,
We
it'll be like-
were talking in the morning before we saw it, and I was saying probably, they've already come together as a team, but then they've hit like a new low, and then they're going to come back up, and it was at that moment.
Yeah.
Like, they did start playing.
and then they cut it off maybe 4 seconds.
So
in.
short.
Like it didn't even play loudly.
It felt so out
It
of
was
place.
like go Power Ranger, and then they like went back to that orchestral shit that's in every one of these movies, and then that's like it, and they're now Power Rangers, whoop-de-doo, and then like the little after credit sequence is exactly what I remember when I heard them announce this movie, I was like, oh, and then the sequel will be Green Ranger, so like they'll set them up, and so sure enough, it's like Tommy Oliver, and like he's not there. And like, if you didn't know, if you're truly rebooting Power Rangers,
It's kind of a weird. Yeah, the Breakfast
no one would know.
Club Ferris Bueller references were a little like, why is this happening?
yeah. I mean, I thought that going with the kind of like we're more troubled, we actually have attitude, we're into,
Except we're all troubled in the same way, like I was saying. Like, we all have the same problem.
right, which
Because again, they want them to be nice kids, so no one's like an actual drug addict or like failing out of school.
I don't even really know what Jason's issue is. He doesn't have a mom?
No, he was a star football player, and then he got injured, and then he
I see.
kind of like threw it all away.
Yeah, it's just kind of a paint by numbers sort of movie. It could have been a lot worse. It could have been, Fantastic Four 2014 comes to mind, or 2015.
Yeah, it could have been way more disjointed. It could have had no good elements.
But it was, for a guy who's there to see some Power Rangers, damn it.
They didn't like... I know you really don't like Goldar, but for the most part, other than that, they didn't ruin anything. Again, like, Zordon was done well, Alpha was done well, the Power Rangers are serviceable. Like, no one was really, like, horribly on.
It would have been interesting if they had let Japan make a reboot of Zhu Ranger first, and then cannibalize the footage. Because what is Power Rangers if not cannibalized footage? It has been cannibalized footage for 25 years. And then do you think you can make your own Power Rangers movie from scratch? I don't know. I think...
That's the guy who likes the first Power Rangers movie.
True. I mean, but there are problems there. They would have been better off with a... I don't know for sure, but I think Turbo uses Sentai footage.
Yeah.
So I think kids are going to like it. I think it's going to make a lot of money. I
see. I didn't know if it was appropriate for kids. Again, there was a lot of talk of death.
Preteens.
Okay, maybe. It was really dark and not funny. There was no lightheartedness.
Like, yeah, that's the question.
They didn't have a single bake sale for diabetic kids. Like the teenagers were not doing the teenagers.
The thing is, like there are some pretty stupid monsters in the show.
Yeah.
You need to embrace your own stupidity a little bit.
Can I remind you that Rita Repulsa goes around in this murdering homeless people and vagrants to steal the gold out of their mouths?
Like that's not really my Power Rangers, man.
That's not really my Rita Repulsa.
No, Rita's like, I have a bad headache and I want to ruin their food sale.
Rita is under the weather and sends the ravenous Pudgy Pig to take it out on her.
Make me a Pudgy Pig. Who will have
yes, my queen.
A big fat pig with little tiny legs and like a Trojan helmet.
Yeah, this movie just wasn't fun in the way that Power Rangers is fun.
That's the thing is like, yeah, I don't know. It made me really. I was actually really disappointed.
If you like training montages and like teens having some superpowers.
Yeah, and that tired thing of like I got bit by a spider and now.
Yeah, see, I was about to say the same thing. I think Spider-Man just ruins it for everybody because it felt very much like Spider-Man Origin. Like, explore our new powers.
Why is everything like? Why is it always you got to get Batman Begins out of the way so that you can get to Dark Knight? Can't we just go to Dark Knight, please?
Yeah.
Like, I'd be fine with that.
Do it.
Do it. Do it. And that's our Power Rangers discussion. I hope you found it the slightest bit interesting. I won't do this every day, but probably the next time a Power Rangers movie comes out. More phenomenal.
Power